Tariq, how is she?
Well, see for yourself.
How's the baby? Is he okay?
Whoever took him from me is gonna pay. Bottom line.
Who was it? We will not stop until we get this guy.
Dirty copy of Diana B.
What? If you're in some kind of danger, I need to know.
I'm not Ghost. I can fix whatever problem I'm in.
What makes you think you can trust Davis or Tariq?
I don't trust either of them.
We're all at risk now.
So will Diana's baby survive? That's one of the biggest questions going into episode 7, especially after what we saw at the end of 406. But it's not the only question. We know season 4 is all about revenge, and time will be ticking for Detective Felicia Lewis. But let's not forget what happened with Kamal Tate, which will bring back a familiar face. We've got the return of Rashaad Tate, who will no doubt be on a vengeance path. So, when we speak about Diana or Tariq getting revenge, the same could also be said about Rashaad Tate. There's also Drew in jail, and Noma not in exactly a great position in terms of either her legit business or a drug business, and it could get a whole lot worse. There's also Tasha's return, and I'm sure she's got a few words for Tariq too. But, as always, we're going to run through all the scenes from the trailer, as well as bringing in a few extra scenes that match up to episode 7 from a few different teasers and trailers. But first, let's take a look at the title and synopsis. Now the title of episode 7 is I Can't Fix This, and the synopsis reads: when tragedy strikes, Tariq and the Tejadas are sent on a mission to avenge what they've lost. Drew must take out a threat to Carter's organization in order to protect his family. Now, as you guys know, I always focus on dissecting the episode title first, the potential meaning, are there any clues, and what is the kind of deeper meaning. Now, with this particular episode title, I do think it's worth rewinding all the way back to season 4 episode 10 of Power, where the title was very similar, You Can't Fix This.
What happened to going clean?
I'm gonna take care of it.
There is no taking care of it! You can't fix this! Our daughter is gone!
No! Fuck!
Now, this was an episode where Ghost and Tommy were on a mission after a tragedy struck in the form of Raina St. Patrick's death, and it does sound like a very similar theme to what we're going to get in 407 of Ghost. Does that mean they lost the baby because they lost Raina back in Power? I think the possibility of Diana losing her baby is really high. It's not a full-gone conclusion that she will lose him or her, and I will kind of go through a different perspective in just a moment, but I do feel like for Tariq to really kind of turn into this monster, for Diana to turn into this savage that we see in this particular scene, I think she will. So that's just a bit on the episode title and some parallels back to OG Power with how they lost Raina. Now in terms of episode 7 itself, we've got Monet and Tariq at hospital in a real panic. Monet's questioning Tariq about whether the baby is okay, but nobody knows. I'm expecting this scene to probably be right at the start of episode 7, and at some point, we probably will learn whether the baby survives or not. But in terms of what we went through before with the parallels back to Power Season 4, the title and the synopsis, and some of the teasers that we've seen prior to Part 2, I am leaning on the fact that Diana and Tariq will learn that they've lost him or her. This is also where we'll probably see this scene with a tear running down Tariq's face, as Diana kind of just lays there helplessly, not being able to do anything. So, with Tariq and Diana on the verge of losing this baby, I do think it's probably the perfect time to bring Tasha back into the story. If we're talking about similarities and parallels to what happened in season 4, then Tasha really is a perfect person Tariq could turn to. Not only is she his mother, but let's not forget, she also lost a child in Raina.
You can't fix this!
So, where we heard Tasha say you can't fix this, I wouldn't be surprised if this is where we actually hear Tariq admit to Tasha, I can't fix this, or at least at some point in episode 7. In the trailer he says that he can fix whatever problem that he's in. He's not Ghost, and he probably believes that he can. But I do think there will come a time in episode 7 where he's going to start to realize some things are just not in his control, where he finally admits, this particular situation, I can't fix it. Tasha will also probably remind him what happened with Raina, and also how she felt when she lost a child, albeit the circumstances were completely different. No doubt, bringing Tasha back at this moment in time in season 4 definitely serves this particular purpose to help Tariq understand and potentially guide Tariq through whatever he needs to do next.
A child is hope.
Now, this is also where Tasha will say this baby is a sign of hope. And does that give us a glimmer of hope that Diana may potentially not lose this baby after all? Because why would Tasha be saying the baby is a sign of hope? Let's see. I'm still kind of leaning towards Diana losing the baby, especially because we are going to see Diana on Demon Time. Detective Felicia Lewis is definitely going to get dropped. If it doesn't happen in episode 7, then I'm sure it's going to happen in episode 8. Either way, she's definitely gone. And it is going to have to be at the hands of Diana, just like Tariq had to kill Ray Ray. Tariq felt like he had to be the one to avenge his sister's death, and I do think at some point in episode 7, Diana will be back up on her feet, and she's going to be thinking something very similar. She's the one who has to drop Detective Lewis. She's the one who has to do it, which is probably where we see this scene with Diana turning into a real savage.
You kill people. Don't act like any of this is foreign to you.
Now, as we all know, Diana hasn't killed before, but you have to think, what can make a person turn into a real killer? A loss of a loved one is certainly high on the list. So, I do think Felicia Lewis will get dropped, and I do think it will be at the hands of Diana. Now, let's stick with law enforcement. Carter says they're all at risk, and that's because Internal Affairs are looking into them. Roman Price is still breathing in jail. Felicia Lewis has made a lot of mistakes. There's also Zion's death in an off-the-book safe house, which was also caught on CCTV. So, Carter might have a lot on his plate at this moment in time internally. However, it won't stop him from harassing the Tejadas and Tariq. This scene towards the end of the trailer where we see Monet pointing her gun, it does match up to where Detective Carter holds all three of Monet, Tariq, and Diana at gunpoint. We've also got Diana dressed in all black like she is in this scene. So, whether it's after they've done their mission or before, who knows? But one thing we definitely do know, Carter will be applying as much pressure as he can, and he will try and keep the Tejadas and Tariq in line as much as possible. Now, we're also going to see Carter and Nico Halston bursting into someone's apartment. There was a black and white teaser that was released post 405, but it is difficult to tell. Either way, Carter will be ruffling some more feathers, and also trying to cover his own tracks. He's going to be putting a gun in someone's hand to try and frame them for perhaps a death, and it does make sense. He does need to get rid of the gun that he killed Kamal Tate with, so it could potentially be that. He could potentially be covering tracks in regards to what he did with Kamal. And with that being said, let's actually move on to the death of Tate and the return of his brother.
Whoever took him from me is gonna pay. Bottom line.
Who was it? We will not stop until we get this guy.
In the trailer, we hear Tate saying, whoever took him from him is gonna pay. Bottom line, with him questioning Carter, who did it. Of course, Detective Carter is gonna throw him some bullshit story. Maybe he blames the Russians for retaliating, or someone who he could kind of frame later on. Maybe even Felicia Lewis if she is taken off the chessboard, because we all know dead people can't defend themselves. So there are a few angles that Detective Carter can work to kind of cover up this murder. But I do think it's only going to be short term. Rashaad Tate knows his brother was a very good detective, and I don't personally think he's just going to ask Detective Carter what happened to his brother. He's going to go to St. Patrick. Whether they were able to connect the dots in episode 7, who knows, but I do think eventually they will. Now, on Carter's part, it really is cold from him. It also kind of reminded me of how Detective Howard stepped up and gave the eulogy after he was the one who killed Shannon Burke. It was cold from Detective Howard, and this is also cold from Detective Carter. So, let's see what else he has up his sleeve, how he plans to keep the Tejadas and Tariq under control, deal with the issues with Felicia Lewis, and also internal affairs. I personally think by killing Kamal Tate, that's a huge mistake. Rashaad Tate won't rest until he gets justice. So in my opinion, time is definitely ticking for Detective Carter. Now coming back to Tariq, he tells Brayden that a dirty cop beat up Diana, but there's also a scene with Tariq fighting someone in his room. Now if you're wondering who this is, I believe this could actually be Stokely from Stansfield's group who sings with Bushandria and Elle. They've definitely got the same hair, and he wasn't exactly happy with Brayden crashing the stage in 406. So maybe he's come to comfort Brayden or tell Tariq, keep his boy in line. Either way, this conversation isn't going to go down too well and they are going to get into a bit of a scuffle. Let's just hope Tariq doesn't turn into a punching bag again. But in all seriousness, Brayden being high off his face is going to be an issue at some point. He's going to either do something crazy, start to become unpredictable, or start to become unreliable. So that's just something to keep in mind when it comes to Brayden. I do think there are going to be huge moments that test his brotherhood. Now we've also got Noma with Davis, but we do hear her telling Kane later on in the trailer that she doesn't trust either Davis McLean or Tariq. And of course, she is right not to. When Tariq gets the opportunity, he will definitely strike to try and finish Noma for good, and that might actually potentially be digging into what she's hiding in Nigeria. It was revealed that she has a brother in Nigeria, so there's a start. But Davis McLean and Tariq are only one of a few problems for Noma. It seems like she's losing control of Anya Covington. The Russians have been hit by the task force, so they won't be able to move product for her either, and she's also lost the government contracts. So let's see how she manages to work her way out of these few issues, because from where I'm sitting, it does look like the walls are closing in ever so slowly on Noma. I can even see Kane kind of delivering the final sucker punch, because clearly she can't trust him either. So a lot for Noma to deal with. Let's see how she begins to handle it all in episode 7. Now last but not least, we've got Drew in jail. He was happy to remain in jail after he got rid of Zay Green, because there is still another snitch in Roman Price. Roman is about to make a deal with his lawyer by giving up the dirty task force, but Drew said that he'll happily deal with the situation in exchange for a lieutenant role rather than being an errand boy, but also if Detective Carter leaves Monet and Diana alone. And I do think Drew will get it done. When Drew stands on business, he does actually get shit done. So I do think he will deal with Roman, and at some point in episode 7 or 8, we'll probably see Drew being released. But then what? Where do they kind of take his story arc? Drop all your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section for all things episode 7. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.